Good evening, everyone. Sorry we're running a little bit late. We do apologize. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Board of Education. I'd like to start today's meeting by explaining the format. The Board of Education provides two opportunities for you to express your ideas and share your thoughts. The first will be after we receive an update from our Superintendent, Mr. Defendini. The second will be after our meeting has concluded. Both sessions will be 30 minutes in duration, and all speakers will be limited to 3 minutes to give as many people a chance as possible to speak. Please approach any one of the microphones in the aisles here. Of course, please state your name prior to beginning your comments so that our district clerk can accurately reflect the minutes of tonight's meeting. You will see the countdown clock to my right and to your left. You must be stationed at a microphone to express your ideas and share your thoughts with the board. The Board of Education respects the various opinions of our community, and we will provide a comfortable and safe environment. Any behaviors that threaten the integrity of tonight's meeting will not be tolerated and will cause the Board of Ed to adjourn the meeting. Complaints or challenges should follow procedures listed under policies 1400, 1410, and/or 1440, which are included on the materials table. As always, we thank you for your anticipated courtesy and cooperation. In the event of fire and/or if you hear the fire bell, you must leave the building. The first 10 rows in this auditorium should use the exit to my left. Those in the back of the room should use the rear doors and exit the building to the left. If you all could please stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Mr. Defendini. Can we have your monthly update, please?
For sure. Thank you, Mr. Morales. A couple of exciting things on the agenda for us. Most notably, in this community, we had a chance last year to host the Special Olympics, and once again, the Special Olympics will be held right here at our own athletic complex and aquatic center. The event actually is going to be kicking off this Saturday. Some of the pre-work actually begins Friday night at 3:30 for some of our Olympic Village participants. But as far as our volunteers and the actual ceremony, at the opening ceremonies and the games themselves, that'll start on Saturday. Volunteers showing up at 7:30, some volunteers 8:30, and then the actual games kicking off at 9:30. Just a general announcement to the community that's out there. This is a truly remarkable event. I remember last year the feelings that sort of overcame me at different moments, watching the athletes participate in these games and watching the amount of enjoyment that they got and the success that they were able to achieve after all of the hard work that went into the games was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. For those of you that don't know, the Special Olympics is a really incredible ceremony from New York that we've been able to host again, this being our second year, where athletes ages 8 to all the way up to 80 years old can participate in a variety of different activities, track activities, powerlifting, the aquatic center's open, tennis, different types of javelin throws and the like. Athletes have all sorts of different abilities. You have some athletes that will do things that will absolutely astound you. Athletes that can run the mile, in just over 4 minutes, all the way to athletes that, the success and the work that they put in lands themselves in a place where they can get around that track a couple of times, and that in and of itself is a tremendous accolade for some of the athletes that are working really hard to get ready for Saturday's performance. If you are not already signed up as a volunteer, that's totally fine. You don't need to volunteer. We love fans in the stands. I am telling you right now that if you don't have anything going on, or you can move some stuff around to be in our building, on our facility, on Saturday morning at 9:30, it will change you. It is one of the most moving experiences of my life, and I would certainly recommend anybody that can find the time to be there at 9:30 in the morning, where we get to start these ceremonies with the full opening ceremonies. Tremendous opportunity for us to engage with our special education population and the special education population across Long Island. So again, ready for an unbelievable event and very excited for that. The only other update item that I have is I had a chance. We have a tremendous relationship with the Nassau County Police Department, Suffolk County Police Department, and Homeland Security. With thanks to the Nassau County Police Department, led by a lot of our POP officers, they began these community forums where they give us an opportunity, myself as the superintendent and other leaders from around the Nassau County precinct, an opportunity to participate in an open dialogue about concerns that are going on. I found them to be really informative. I've been able to commit to some of the concerns that we've been having here at the local level. They're great at responding to the issues when we bring them to their attention, and they have an opportunity to be able to share some of the things that are going on around the county that I might not be aware of, because it might not be something that's local to Farmingdale School District. But the forums have been a really unbelievable opportunity for us to communicate with one another, and I just wanted to publicly thank the Nassau County Police Department for providing those opportunities for us. Any questions from the board for me? Okay, we're going to commence with the important part of this ceremony, or celebrating excellence. I'm going to ask the board, my team, to jump out into the audience. Just give us a couple of minutes to set up, because we have some unbelievable things that we need to recognize before we get to our science presentation, which is right after that. So just give us a few minutes to set up, and we'll be right back with you. I'll explain that in a second. Oh. No, I got to do that right now. I'll make that announcement. Okay, as we get ourselves set up with the lighting up here, for those of you that might have people at home that are struggling with the live stream, we're having trouble with the live stream right now. Know that the meeting is being recorded. It will be up on our website so that anybody right now that might not be watching it live will absolutely be able to watch it in a recorded fashion, especially this portion of the meeting, obviously, where all of our amazing students and staff are actually being celebrated. So if you have parents or grandparents or friends or family that are having a hard time at home, you could let them know. We know that that's going on. Meeting's being recorded, and we will be able to share this out with everybody, probably by tomorrow, but if not, within the next day or so. Okay. So this is one of our favorite parts of the entire month, which is an opportunity for us to celebrate all the amazing things that are happening here around the community. And sometimes, if you don't actually slow down and process all the wonderful things that are going on, it can go right by you. You might not even notice how many wonderful things are being achieved by our students, by our staff members, by our faculty. This is the moment during the month where we get to slow that down a little bit and have that conversation with the greater community about all the wonderful things. And I'm going to start with two very special ladies who are a part of our Girl Scouts program here in Farmingdale. The Girl Scout Gold Award and Silver Award prove you've got what it takes to build a better today and tomorrow. Cadets earn the Silver Award by researching an issue, planning to address it, and then taking action to improve their communities. Seniors and ambassadors earn the Gold Award, the highest award in Girl Scouting, by developing and carrying out lasting solutions to issues in their neighborhoods and beyond. This year, Howitt Middle Schooler, 8th grade, Abby Malanga, earned the Silver Award, and Farmingdale High School junior, Alexa Frontino, earned the Gold Award. Both girls are in attendance tonight, and I'd like to invite them up, first Abby, then Alexa, to discuss the projects that earned them this prestigious award and their impact on our school community here in Farmingdale. So let's start off with a round of applause for Abby.
Good evening, Board of Education and guests. Hello, my name is Abby Malanga. I'm an eighth grade student at Howitt Middle School and a Girl Scout cadet. For my Girl Scout Silver Award project, I created a succulent garden as a learning tool to showcase a variety of species and to beautify the Howitt courtyard. I researched succulents and was advised by my staff at Starkey Bros Home and Decor Garden Showplace on proper planting of 13 types of succulent plants. I applied my 3D printer knowledge to create the plant marker name posts. I then calculated and stacked the bricks from Lowe's Home Improvement needed for the outdoor pedestal for the summertime, and used my skills learned at the Farmingdale Youth Council sewing class to create a table cover for when the garden moves indoors during the winter. During the cold winter months, a statue of the school mascot, Dale the Lion, will hold the succulent planter's outdoor place and watch over the garden. A binder with plant identification information and care instructions was presented to the Howitt Garden Club faculty advisors so that club members can continue care for the garden and sustain the project. I would like to thank Starkey Bros Home and Garden Showplace, Lowe's Home Improvement of East Farmingdale, Howitt Principal Mr. Gavalis, Howitt Garden Club faculty advisors Mrs. Marzalier and Ms. Core, Mr. Sweeney and the Howitt custodian crew, and my project committee, family and friends, and for their generous support. I hope you get a chance to see it in the lobby on your way out this evening before it gets moved to the outside courtyard for the summer. Thank you for your time and good night.
I don't know what I like more, the students that actually earn the awards or hearing their peers cheer them as they come up on stage. I think that could be a special part of what makes a Daler a Daler. I'd like to now welcome up Alexa Frontino, a Gold Award winner.
Yeah, I'm a little bit short. Hi everyone, my name is Alexa Frontino. I am a junior at Farmingdale High School and an ambassador level Girl Scout. I'm here tonight to speak about my Gold Award that was recently completed within Farmingdale School District at Salzman Elementary School under the advisement of Dr. O'Regan. For my project, I built a sensory garden, which is a new way of learning outside of the classroom. Many of my friends and family, including myself, struggle with the traditional learning style of sitting at a desk for 6 hours a day with no movement or fresh air. My project includes 3 sections: a soundboard made of varying sizes of PVC pipe, a tactile board with sections of different textures, and 3 flowers with chalkboard centers. The soundboard is used with drumsticks to play music and experiment with the effect of size on sound. The tactile board is used for nerve stimulation, and the chalkboards, in combination with different kinds of colors and thicknesses of chalk, are used for drawing. These sections allow students of all learning needs to take a break from sitting at a desk all day while they get outside. The final portion of my project was writing curriculum that corresponds with New York State Standards of Learning for grades K through 5, art, music, and occupational therapy, inspired by my own current and former teachers within Farmingdale School District. This project was largely inspired by my older brother George, who earned his Eagle Scout Award for a similar project at Woodward Parkway in 2018. This project was created with the hopes that future generations of Dalers will benefit from this new way of learning. Thank you, and congratulations to everyone else being recognized tonight.
As Dr. Thompson takes the picture, if that's not enough, I had a chance to be a part of a presentation that Alexa delivered as part of her AP research, where she was researching the impact of pressure that comes from the outside on weight for people that are a part of dance teams. Whole AP year worth of research on that project. Outstanding young lady. One more round of applause for Alexa. Farmingdale School District is proud to announce this year 3 school and community members were recognized for their exemplary work and service by Scope Educational Services. They will be honored officially at the 22nd Annual School District Awards Gala on May 22nd, 2023. I'd like to welcome up 3 very special people who have given back to our school system in remarkable ways and earned this prestigious award. Support Staff Service Award, Orlando Romano from Howitt Middle School. Ruth Mila Martina, Scope Social Worker here, Howitt Middle School. And Administrative Service Award, Glenn Zakian, Deputy Superintendent, who was not able to be here. He was not feeling well, but we congratulate him anyway. Congratulations, Ruth, and congratulations, Orlando. On March 28th, the Long Island Business Teachers Association held their annual business contest. Over 200 of the top business students from 14 Long Island high schools competed in various business contests that correspond with the business education curriculum. We are so proud of the continued success of our students and the work that they've demonstrated in placing in their respective events. In addition, the Long Island Business Teachers Association has awarded Anthony Ciaravino a scholarship, which he will receive at a luncheon on May 23rd. I'd now like to welcome up Stacy Cabrera, business teacher, Farmingdale High School, to bring up the students to be honored this evening. Ms. Cabrera? And Ms.
Well, for those of you that know me, I don't travel alone because I have here with me Jackie Chinazzo and Donna Wright. We are the Decker Advisors, Business Honor Society Advisors, and we'd like to introduce you to our dream team tonight. So you might have seen them last time up here on stage. Our contest winners for the Long Island Business Teachers contest this year. In second place in business calculations, Dean Chang. Second place in the business principles category, Grace Decker. Third place in the elevator pitch competition, Brian Stabile. Second place in the entrepreneurship category, Alessandra Grandin. And third place in the entrepreneurship category, Brendan Gigante.
And also mentioned before, our big scholarship winner, Anthony Charavino, DECA president, Business Honor Society member, and two-time winner in the LIBTA contest, has won this prestigious scholarship award.
I don't remember what I was doing when I was 11 years old, but I know it wasn't interviewing an ex-Major League Baseball Rookie of the Year. Howard Middle Schooler, 6th grade, Michael Adjerfo hosted a Q&A with former Mets/Yankee pitcher Dwight Gooden on his very own podcast, Blitz Sports, with MJL24. What started out as comments during a game and writings in a notebook have evolved into a sports podcast that's available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Michael has released 43 episodes so far with over 1,000 downloads and a growing Instagram account. A professional baseball player is Michael's #1 career choice, but an MLB analyst from ESPN is his backup. You're well on your way, Michael. Keep up the good work. Blitz Sports with MJL24. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome up Michael Adjerfo. You're making us look bad, Michael. 7th grader Jasmine Capel will be competing in the National History Day competition at the University of Maryland this June. Jasmine earned her spot in the national program by competing against regional winners from across New York State. She took first place at SUNY Oneonta with her individual website, Photography Isn't Painting. To create her website, Jasmine researched for months, finding the highest quality resources for her project. At both the Long Island and state competition levels, Jasmine was met by judges and had to answer questions about her project. The judges were very impressed by her poise, her intellect, and her deep understanding of the topic. I'd like to welcome up Jasmine Capel and her teacher, Jared Duchin, to the stage. think I found something as actually satisfying as watching students cheer for their peers as watching the teachers in the front row jump out of their seats like they're sitting on a seat full of hat pins when their student gets an award. The excitement coming from this front row is awesome. Sarah Whitaker has been selected as a New York State Master Teacher. She will join peers and current members of the New York State Master Teacher Program to form a network of over 1,600 outstanding K-12 teacher leaders who demonstrate a deep understanding of their content area, pedagogy, students, their families, and their communities, as well as a commitment to growth in these areas. New York State Master Teachers are dedicated to sharing best practices to provide the most innovative STEM education for all students, to mentor pre-service teachers, to lead workshops for in-service teachers, and even more importantly, to inspire their students, who are the next generation of STEM teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome up Master Teacher Sarah Whitaker. And in case anyone's wondering, what are these green shirts that we're all wearing? They say science is cool using the periodic tables. And yes, I feel cool saying that. Go Science. NYSSMA Perfect Score recipients. The following students received a perfect score at their NYSSMA Solo Festival adjudication. Students who played at level 1 through 4 solo received a perfect score of outstanding, 28 points out of 28. A level 5 or 6 of A+, 100, or level 6 All-State score of 6 plus 100 is the highest possible score in the festival. I'd like to welcome up our Director of Fine and Performing Arts, Mr. Warnikowski, to announce the award winners.
Thank you very much, Mr. Defendini. I just want to say that I am so proud not only of our students who achieved their highest rating, the highest rating possible at NYSSMA, but to all of our students who went to NYSSMA. We had hundreds and hundreds of students from Farmingdale alone go to NYSSMA this past March, and we are all so proud of them. They worked so hard. But these are the ones who scored perfect scores on their level. From the Albany Avenue School, Lucas Suku, please come on down. And I have a few more from Albany Avenue, so to help with the time, I would ask you to hold your applause until I announce all the names. Aubrey McGeegan, Anna Kleiner, Melody Jones, Juliana Danny, and I'd like to point out that this student from Albany Avenue went on 3 NYSSMA solos, vocal, piano, and euphonium, and received 3 perfect scores. That would be Stella Levinson. So come on down, Stella. Okay, we have a number of students from Northside School. So again, please hold your applause until I introduce all the Northside students. Harvey Wilson, Riley Shurek, Christopher Seeley, Alexandria Romano, Neela Nicholas, Andrew Golden, Caitlin Gillen, Benjamin Dolgerian, and Lucy Cutter. Come on down from Northside School. And I apologize if I'm not saying names correctly. From our Saltzman East Memorial Elementary School, Zaid Sheikh, Olivia Moran, Daniel Jablow, Rudolph Brownworth, and another student who went to 3 NYSSMA solos on vocal, piano, and alto sax, with a perfect score, Benjamin Sinisi. Come on down. And from Woodward Parkway Elementary School, Nalani Winter, Juan Carlos Sumana, Brianna Macy, Cariel Lilavoice, Emily Hughes, Gabriel Haas, Madison Brinskell, and Chloe Alvarez from Woodward Parkway. And I think we're going to take a picture, right, with all the elementary students first. Congratulations. And from our Howitt Middle School, Lily Cutter, Daniel Simonovsky, Devin Shaw, Leo Scardina, Jack Poots, Kaylee Murphy, Chase McQuaid, Kasha Malinowski, Alex Maimon, Kiara Lenke, Jasmine Coppell, Harleen Kaur, Alessandra Holanka, Aviel Haas, Eleanor Gus, Isabella Gurdon, George Grigorov, Andrea Echeverria, Lily Defendini, Mary Cohen, Braden Sinelli, and Natalie Calderon. Congratulations to our Howitt students. And we'll do a picture separate with Howitt as well. Okay, great. All right, you got it. And from our high school, we have Grace Stabile, Jonathan Sirico, Jasmine Eng, Gabriella McGinnis, Noah Lanke, Christopher Jablo, Kelsey Amarudden, Shay Hiotitis, Ava Leno, Ryan Loglin, Ava Monteleone, Robert Silverstein. Come on down from our high school. Congratulations. Very good. And at this time, we are going to recognize our students who probably performed at NISMA every year since elementary school to earn these next awards. These are our NISMA All-State recipients. The following students performed with the best high school musicians in New York State this past December. They spent 3 days in Rochester rehearsing with their respective groups, and then they performed at the Eastman Theater. I'd like to bring to the stage, our All-State recipients, and that would be Gilbert Simmis, McKay Jones, Robert Baldwin, and Grace Lisicki. Congratulations. All right, we're going to have Makai take a picture with the Board of Ed here for our all-state student that was able to be here tonight. Should we do the others, all-Eastern and all-national all together? Okay, let's do that. So our all-Eastern recipients, the following students performed with the best high school musicians on the Eastern Seaboard this past April. They spent 3 days in Rochester rehearsing with students from many states across the East Coast and then performed at the Eastman Theater. Let's bring up our all-Eastern students, and that would be Robert Baldwin, Molly Kina, Grace Lisicki, Gilbert Simmis, Kylie Kakase, and Rebecca Konjeski. And finally, our all-national honors ensembles. Farmingdale is proud to acknowledge the following students who perform with the top high school musicians in the country at all nationals. They spent 3 days this past November in Baltimore, Maryland, rehearsing with students from across the nation, and then they performed at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland. Please give a round of applause to the following students: Molly Kina, Rebecca Konjeski, and Zachary Carl. Congratulations.
Unbelievable. All state, all Eastern, and even all national. To have that many students up here is outstanding, and puts us in a place where the little sign you see over there as far as best communities in the country with regard to our music program. That's the reason why we do it, is because of the unbelievable teachers that we have and the unbelievable kids that we have through our programs. Congratulations. Wonderful job. The Howard Players performed Matilda, the musical, on March 10th and 11th with the direction from Jen Clark, choreography by Amanda Warlow, and vocal direction by Mr. Eric Hulse and Joe Franzino. The production featured an incredibly talented group of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students who were so proud to share their musical abilities with the entire Farmingdale community. Students sang, acted, and danced on stage to bring the magical story of a young girl overcoming challenges to life. Both public performances of Matilda sold 700 seats each, and the show was a smash hit with people from every generation. I'd like to welcome up Ms. Jen Clark, Ms. Amanda Warlow, Mr. Eric Holtz, and Mr. Joe Franzino to announce the students who were a part of this unbelievable cast and crew to the stage. This will be followed by a performance from the group themselves, so just wait for it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jen Klock, and I am the director of the Howard Players. I'm incredibly fortunate to have worked with the most amazing group of students and teachers this year putting on our production of Matilda. These kids worked every single day for 4 months straight to put on a fantastic production. For those of you who came to see it, you saw their talent and dedication come to life on stage. And for those of you who may have missed it, you're going to get a little encore performance of it tonight. So I'm going to read out the names of all of our cast members. I ask that you just please hold your applause until everyone is announced, and everyone can start coming up as soon as I read your name. Or I kind of like when you hear, we're not in any alphabetical order in our seats. Natalia Adams, Maya Annunziato, Jesse Arcuri, Samantha Atella, Eric Bosk, Natalie Calderon, Zaria Canizares, Mary Cohen, Tyler Davies, John Denicky, Mira Deshmuk, George Grigorov, Isabella Gurdon, Ava Guzman, Kira Hayden, Brody Healy, Robert Herbst, Cassandra Hill, Lincoln Kina, Sophia Lambright, Andrew Maizano, Jada Mays, Emma Mountricas, Kaylee Murphy, Ty Rambo, Leo Scardina, Devin Shaw, Wyatt Smith, Ella Smith, Valerie Stabenow, and Shannon Tower.
Again, while the students get ready for the picture, again, I'm just going to go. Third thing that I love about this is half of the kids that come up with eye black all over their face because they just came from a practice or a actual game is awesome as well. Okay, members of the board, I'm going to ask you to go into the audience. Boys and girls, please jump back up on stage so you're in back of the microphones. And we turn it over to you and your wonderfully talented voices.
I will give you
One more giant round of applause for these incredible, incredible students here at Howard Middle School. Okay, so that does conclude the Celebrating Excellence portion of this evening's meeting. We know full well many of our students need to get home, study, go to bed, rest up. You had a long math assessment today. Get your feet back underneath you. We're going to transition to the next portion of this evening's board meeting, where we get ourselves ready for our amazing science teachers that are going to come up and take us through a presentation with regard to a curriculum rebuild that was a part of this year's work. Science teachers, you can start making your way up. Everybody else, you can start making your way out. Thank you, everybody. So, to those people that are left, thank you for staying around. The next portion of our meeting is going to be a synopsis of some of the work that was done this year. One of the goals of the Board of Education was to be more forward-facing at board meetings, talking more about the initiatives, the programs, the changes, some of the things that are happening as far as board goals for the year. You've heard everything over the course of the last several months, from issues surrounding safety, work, from a curriculum transparency standpoint, forward-facing documents that are now available for our community, that are helping to organize ourselves a little better. To tonight, we're going to be talking about a new protocol that we put in place this year, where our science team has led that charge of looking at the curriculum and the way in which it ties to science standards. I'm going to start tonight's presentation off by introducing Dr. Jennifer Olson, who is going to begin tonight's presentation looking at our science curriculum with our amazing team of professionals up here that have been a part of this since the very beginning of the year. Dr. Olson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Defendini. Tonight is an exciting night for us. It has been a whole year of working with this amazing committee. Dr. Cummings and I couldn't ask for a better committee to work with. It has been absolutely amazing. It is made up of teachers, parents, students. It's truly been such an incredible investigation into what science looks like in our classrooms. So we're going to start by passing the mic so everybody can introduce themselves, and we're going to we jigsawed the presentation so you can hear different people talking throughout the whole presentation. But when it comes around, bring it back to me. Okay? So again, I'm Dr. Jennifer Olson, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction.
I'm Cherie Jones, a school board member and Dale, a parent.
Karen Joyce, K2 Instructional Coach at Albany Avenue.
Dina Carlucci, Math Specialist at Wilbur Parkway.
Kristen Cummings, I'm the Director of Science, Health, K-12, and Innovation 3-5.
Jessica Bainey, I'm a teacher at Albany Avenue, and I'm also a parent in the district.
Julie Bonventry, I'm the 3-5 instructional coach at Northside Elementary School.
Fran Ryan, 5th grade teacher, Northside Elementary School.
Hi, Varneet Kaur, 6th grade science teacher here at Harvard Middle School.
Kristen Sinelli, parent with 3 children in the district and Northside PTA president.
Jen Bernstein, high school chemistry teacher.
Sarah Whitaker, physics teacher and also the ELL summer teacher coordinator.
Hi, Michelle Angiulo, ENL teacher at the high school.
Cynthia Conway, high school special education science teacher.
Mary Devine, 7th grade earth science teacher.
Thanks, Mary. Okay. Let's get the party started. Okay. All right. So,
first, I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to represent the board on this committee. And we want to give a special thank you to Dr. Olson and to our superintendent for gifting us with these lovely t-shirts. They are a limited edition. Sorry you can't have one, but we want everyone to know that science is cool. But we want to just share that we started this process with everything that we do in the district, as you know, with Portrait of a Graduate. It is our North Star or a roadmap that we are using as we consider all these 10 tenets that will make for a well-rounded Farmingdale graduate. And just to refresh our memory, the 10 tenets are respectful and resilient. They value diversity. They're critical thinkers who communicate clearly. They're future focused with career pathways. They are leaders and problem solvers. They're independent and responsible. We're concerned about wellness. They're passionate learners. They're tech savvy and safe, and they are community minded. So this is always going to inform everything that we do. It informs the curriculum, it informs the entire process as these brilliant minds work together to custom tailor our science curriculum. And the Portrait of a Graduate also informs what our vision statement is as a school district. And it is the mission of the Farmingdale School District to educate our students to become independent thinkers and problem solvers. It is our goal to empower each student to meet the challenges of tomorrow's emerging world. And the district will provide a safe, nurturing environment in which individual and civic responsibility is fostered, diversity is respected, and all students are enabled to realize their full potential. And I'll now hand it over so we can continue with this very cool presentation.
Thank you. So what is the curriculum review process? This process will be living within our district for the next few years as we go through different subject areas as the years go on. So math, you're up next. Next year it's you. I have to thank Dr. Cummings for really being that initial guinea pig director to go through the process. As we prepared for these days and these committee days, it was amazing how we just when making a presentation was so easy together because we just bounced our ideas constantly off. So thank you. Yeah, we did. And so what is part of this process? And it's really looking at best practices, really deeply understanding the current state of our curriculum, and then seeing what it looks like in our classrooms. And that's really one of the best parts of this whole committee, was that we were sharing perspectives across K-12. We were noticing patterns and trends in what we were learning and how we were teaching and what our students were experiencing from the kindergarten classroom all the way up to a physics or chemistry class. It was truly amazing. And then we went on learning walks, and they're going to talk deeply about that. So I'm not going to really give it away because the teachers and the parents are really going to give you their feedback on what that felt like that day. And then we started to look at our student achievement and our student growth. We started to look at data. Where are our kids now, and where would we like them to be? What are those next steps? How can we help each individual student reach the goal that they want to get to? And then we all met and in groups of looking at K2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and then 9 to 12. We made 3-year action plans of what we could do to create maybe new curriculum opportunities or refine curriculum opportunities that we already had, looking at resources that we had, looking at the experience that the student would have in our classrooms, and we created plans tailored to the needs of our students. So here you go. Now you're going to hear all about it and how that process lived in our class.
So I'm lucky enough to be the first one to do this curriculum review, but it actually came at a great time because we're in transition to new science standards. So these standards in 2011, the framework for K-12 science education came out, which are the best practices of learning science. So really, it's based on a few essential ideas. That children are born investigators, and I think as parents we all know that, the question why, where it gets on our nerves after a while. But what happens is after elementary school, kids stop asking why. And part of learning is always continuing to do that. So how do we get kids to be excited about school, about science throughout K-12? It focuses on some core ideas and practices. It develops concepts over time, so there's a clear progression of standards. Science and engineering practices are important because kids need to know how to be scientists and need to know how to be engineers the way they think to be able to learn science. Connecting students' interests to experiences, which you'll see a couple of examples throughout this presentation. And then finally, really promoting equity. How do we get it to access to all students?
All right, so I'm gonna show you how traditional science lessons look like. We used to teach using a lecture, a textbook. We would read, stand in the front, read out from a presentation, and students would just copy down like some passive learners. But we switched from this traditional science lessons to next generation science standards, which is actually presenting the material to the students with the research question. They focus on that question, use that material, and then investigate the material and then find the answers using the materials, not from direct lessons from a teacher. So this is actually a flipped next generation standards, and it's gonna make our kids more interested in learning science, investigating, asking questions, all the engineering and science practices that we want them to do.
So when we started this, we started small. We said, we're gonna take our, if you learned in the past, we learned something, we took notes, and then we went and did a lab. But we already knew what was gonna happen in the lab because we just took the notes. So the first thing we did was flip it. So do your lab, do your experience before you even start talking about any concepts or vocabulary. So there's 3 main parts of the new standards. There are the disciplinary core ideas, which are our content standards. It's really the knowledge that students need. The science and engineering practice, or what do science and engineers do? So like asking questions. So we're talking about questions. It's not the teachers asking questions, it's the students doing this. So all of this are students doing, not the teacher doing. And then finally we have the lens through which we approach those phenomena or those things we're looking at in science. And those are our cross-cutting concepts. So just to equate this to something that we know, a turkey. Or a chicken meal. So basically, if you think of the core ideas, that's our turkey, or that's a chicken eye, actually, right? So that's our chicken. Then you think of the tools we use in the kitchen. Those are the practices. If you don't know how to use those tools, you're not going to be able to make a chicken. And finally, we wanted something to tie it all together and tie those flavors together. So you think of those herbs and spices and seasonings as those cross-cutting concepts. So an example in the classroom in elementary school would be, well, we want the kids to end up knowing this is the content, what do plants need to grow? But first we're going to say, all right, do seeds, the kids are going to generate questions. What do plants need to grow? Do they need sunlight? Do they need water? Do they need, and then they're going to develop an investigation. An investigation is one of the science and engineering practices. Then they're going to take a step back and say, now that we learned during our investigation that plants need light to grow, well then, do we see this pattern? And a pattern is a cross-cutting concept. Do we see this pattern in all of plants? So that's really the new approach. And it really is to get kids to start asking questions, to start doing investigations, and start being curious again. So we keep saying this word phenomenon, and I think at the last meeting they wanted to count how many times we said it. So really, a phenomenon is anything that happens in life, and anything that happens that we want to take a look at. And it really is. We know kids come to us with vast experiences. Not everyone grew up here. Not everyone, does the same thing when they get home. So really, a phenomenon is to ground all students to have a common access point and entry point into a learning. So to give you an example, if you this is actually what we did in 6th grade. So we were doing a chemical reactions unit, and Varney, she actually did this with her class. So we started the unit with just showing these pictures, right? Statue of Liberty, what it looked like, and then what it looks like now. And that was it. And then the kids started asking questions. And so from that, they ended up coming up. They write their questions on Post-it notes, and they give a driving question board. And then as the teacher, you kind of say, okay, well, some of these questions look like they're looking at patterns. Some of it looks like they're looking at cause and effect. So then you take this, and that's what generates your unit. So for this, they had to, they don't get the answer right away, but throughout the unit, they're going to piece back more and more information after each lesson to get to understand what chemical reaction caused this to happen. And now we're going to give you a chemistry example.
So in high school chemistry, this is an example of a phenomenon, and the question or the activity can be done several ways. One of the ways we can do it is ahead of time say, you're going to watch a demonstration, what do you notice, what do you wonder, and after the demonstration then they can list, you can target it to give them specific amount of questions to answer. So this is an example of what we did in a chemistry class. I told them that there was some milk of magnesia and some indicator solution and some hydrochloric acid. And that's all I told them. That was the first two chemicals were in the flask, and now I'm going to put the hydrochloric acid in the flask, and then they just observe. So you can observe for a minute. It's going to take a minute, sorry. So, that's what I did, and then I had the kids come up with, what questions do you have about what happened here? And the questions ranged from questions that showed the students were thinking about the phenomena to why is that so loud? Because there was actually ice and a stir bar in there, so it was making a clicking noise. But it doesn't matter what the questions are because those questions give us a lot of information. The student who was asking why is it so loud, that shows me that student might not be focused on the science, which is fine, but then I have to find a way to redirect that student. So you can advance to the next slide. These were some of the questions. You can actually see why does it turn different color? What is the liquid made of? Can the solution revert back to its original color? What causes multiple color changes rather than just one? And why is there a delay after the initial color change? So these are all questions that we answered as the unit progressed. But it gets them thinking about science, and we constantly go back to this rather than me standing up there explaining what we just did or what I just did and dumping it on them, and they're not curious. They're just waiting for what's going to happen.
This is just another technique that we use to ask questions, but I think what you were just talking about is really important. Those questions that they ask really give us an idea of what their preconceived notions might be. Sometimes kids will blow you away at what they already know, but we won't know that unless we see this. So it really gets an idea of who knows what in the classroom in a way that's not like, here, we're going to take a pre-assessment today. No, that's like, if you want. Okay, so
Okay, so right now we're going to take a look at how science education used to be taught and how, well, what direction we are going in. Just a few things. First of all, we'll remember rote memorization of facts and terminology. I think we all had to go through that in school. We're moving away from that, and instead, facts and terminology will be learned as needed while developing explanations and designing solutions that are supported by evidence-based arguments and reasoning. So it's sort of like learning on the job. You learn what you need to know in order to get the job done. Teachers will used to provide information to the whole class, just sort of talk at the class. Instead of that, students will be conducting investigations. They'll be solving problems, engaging in discussions with each other, along with the teacher's guidance. So they really will be learning from each other. We used to read textbooks and answer the questions at the end of the chapter. Instead of doing that, students are going to be reading multiple sources. They're going to be looking at science-related magazines, journal articles, and web-based resources and software, which will be updated basically daily, if not weekly. So things will stay current instead of looking at a textbook that might be 10 years old and things have changed in those last 10 years. And I guess instead of using worksheets, instead of just handing out worksheets, students will be writing in their journals. They're going to be doing reports and showing those reports to each other. They'll be doing posters, working in groups, media presentations, slideshows, and using their explanations and actual argument, not arguing, but explanations and arguments to prove their point from the evidence that they have gleaned.
As a parent going through this experience, it was exciting to see that the education was becoming more hands-on, more engaging, which I know my children will be more motivated by. Science should really be about exploring your curiosity and making discoveries and not just reading from the textbook. And then after I would have the meetings, I would go home and talk to my children about it, and definitely part of the excitement was that class would feel more like a group discussion, like a discovery, rather than just a teacher lecture.
We also had the unique opportunity to participate in the learning walks within our district, which really gave us insight into that vertical trajectory of science instruction. So it's always based on these four components: a focus question that's established prior to the walk, the classroom visits, which in our case spanned K through 12, which was really fascinating actually, the structured analysis where we discuss and unpack all of the things that we had observed, and then that leads us to next steps planning because we utilize what we've already acquired to move forward in a greater direction. We had one focus question that became our initial question that we went in targeting, and that question was, what evidence do we see that students are engaged in their learning through inquiry to enhance their understanding of science and engineering? And once again, we were able to see that trajectory from K through 12, being able to participate in a kindergarten classroom where they were learning about force in the rudimentary level of pull and push. We were then followed by a lesson in the upper grade level, secondary level, in a physics class where they were studying force in a more sophisticated manner. So it was really quite fascinating.
So as Dina said, our focus question for our learning work, we all started in a base camp together. There were two teams, one that began in the high school and then went over to Northside Elementary, one that started at Howitt Middle School and then went over to Albany Avenue. I can speak for myself, but I think the rest of the team, we were amazed at the differences from the K classroom up until, I only saw up until 8th grade, but some of the members saw up through the high school. We all focused on this same question about noticing engagement. There were seven classrooms that each teacher got to observe, with a little meeting in the hallway afterwards to just chat about what we saw, noticings and wonderings. And then we came back together at the end of the day. And I think the best part of this was bringing together the elementary with the middle and the high school world and seeing how much amazing science is happening in all of our classrooms across the district every single day. So thank you.
So I had the unique opportunity to go through a K classroom, a first grade classroom, a third grade classroom, and a sixth, seventh, and eighth grade classrooms. And as a parent, I was blown away by the engagement, the motivation of the children, the questioning techniques, the hands-on learning, the inquiry that was happening, and I was pretty impressed because I have 2 high schoolers and know that they went through the schools, and I was pretty proud. So that was my takeaway.
I'm just talking about a little bit of a bucket. So when we came out of those learning walks, we kind of categorized, we met afterwards and we categorized what were some of the big takeaways for us. So in terms of now we've known the best practice, we know what's needed to go into the science standards. We know that we have to get kids thinking and be more involved and be more active in their learning. So when we looked at the classrooms, we decided these 6 things were what we're going to concentrate on. So really building phenomenon and storylines, increasing student discourse, that conversation between students, cultivating classroom environments of curiosity, embedded modeling and vocabulary development, inquiry-based instruction through student questioning, and integration of all of the 3 dimensions that we talked about. So we took this, we took the Farmingdale that looked at the portrait of the graduate, we looked at the Farmingdale vision statement, and we came up with a science mission statement.
So I hope you guys can see from what you've already heard how we are a district of lifelong learners. Our teachers are learning from each other and learning from their students. And that was so impressive to me to sit in the room and see the teachers really collaborating and learning from each other and asking questions. I see how well you do this. How can I do that? And when we came up with a mission statement for the science curriculum, the groups broke up into the K2 through 2 teachers, the 3 through 5, the middle school teachers, and the high school teachers. And each group wrote their own mission statement. And then we came together and looked at it almost like that sticky board. Everybody put their things on the wall. And we looked to see the common threads. And there were a lot of common threads. And everyone kind of picked out the things that they felt were like the most important to include in the mission statement. And we think we came up with something pretty fantastic. And it says the mission of the Farmingdale School District Science Department is to cultivate a spirit of discovery, innovation, investigation, exploration, and problem solving through respectful discourse. Students will investigate real-world phenomena to develop a deep understanding of core scientific ideas through evidence-based arguments and concrete models. Learning environments will foster risk-taking. That's something that was really important to be included, that we want our kids not to be afraid to take a risk, not to be afraid of failure, because really there's a lesson in in a failure. So we want to have learning environments that foster risk-taking, provide spaces for all students' voices to be heard, support diverse learners, all learners, no matter where their strengths or weaknesses lie, and foster opportunities for collaboration. And students will acquire scientific literacy and abstract thinking to apply to any future career path. I think that's pretty awesome, and you guys should clap for that. Who's next?
Great job. So here's the timeline of adoption and implementation. So in 2016, the new standards were adopted. New York State decided that they were going to take the next generation science standards and add a few more standards in there, and so they can rename it the New York State Science Learning Standards, just so we have more acronyms. But we really started this work probably in 2014 here at Farmingdale. We knew this was coming, or I knew this was coming, and so when the first year I got here, the second year I got here, I really started talking about the shifts. So again, you have to start small. You have to build capacity within people. So this has been 10 years I've been here 10 years, and it's been a 10-year plan. So we started with teaching them, the teachers about the standards, looking at a 5E model of instruction, which is the way we teach our new lessons. It's an engage. First you engage the kids, then they explore, then they explain. So there is a place for notes. So some kids are like, my teacher's not telling me anything. Well, no, there's a place for notes, but that's after they have some experience. Then they elaborate what they know, and then we evaluate. So some big changes coming. This year is the last 8th grade state science test. Last year was the last fourth grade science test because it's going to move to fifth grade. So if you look here, and you'll see this timeline again in the upcoming slides, next year is the fifth and eighth grade test. The following year is bio, and they're going from living environment to biology again. They're going from earth science to earth and space sciences. And then the following year will be the chemistry and the readings exam. Okay, so some of the updates on testing. There'll still be tests in June. There's no longer that lab practical that we have for 5th, 8th, and earth science. It's more like what we do for living environment, which there are embedded investigations throughout the school year for 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, and 8. So kids will be doing investigations, and we have to keep those investigations on record. And from those investigations, 15% of the written test will be questions based on those investigations. So it's really, they want kids to have those hands-on experiences and then be able to relate it to content. So again, it'll still be in June. There just won't be that first part of the lab practical portions. It'll all be embedded during the school year, and then they'll take the test in June. So here's the current state of the curriculum. So by 2022, which was last year, we had K through 8 fully aligned. And I just highlighted the yellow because you see the progression. So you see, forces interactions in kindergarten. You see, it again in third grade. So the yellow is the physical science standards. The green are the life science standards, and the orange are the earth and space science standards. So we see it repeated. So what happened was, knowing that this was coming down, we made a few decisions here at the district. We decided to flip-flop earth science and living environment, the accelerated course for 8th grade. So what would end up happening is it took us about 3 to 4 years to transition, but now after the kids take, so either a student in 8th grade will take this fantastic life science course based on the new standards, or they'll take the bio or living environment right now Regents course. So if the student is not taking the living environment, here they're going to build a foundation. So when they go to high school, they'll be prepared for the living environment course, which is the first course they'll take in high school. So we did that flip. And then if you do the next slide. So here again, you'll see that this is what we're working on currently for the new tests for bio, earth science, chem, and physics. So we have the scope and sequences. Actually, we're a little bit ahead of this even, because we have the scope and sequences for all of the Regents courses. We are now actually looking at assessments so we can go back and start writing curriculum this summer.
Elevate Science is a resource that our district is currently using in grades 3 through 5, and it goes beyond the textbook, as said before. It has a plethora of resources that are from online. It also has tools that students can use that are interdisciplinary. It has a lot of hands-on phenomena, as we discussed before, that are interwoven in between all of the units. This past year, teachers participated in a collegial circle around this resource to learn more about it and see how it would fit into Farmingdale's vision.
We had some people absent today, so I'm actually doing a lot more slides than I was going to do, so that's why I keep walking back and forth. So again, I mentioned that we had flip-flopped, and now we accelerate living environment only in 8th grade. So you have to look at the data. So when we look at the data, this is June 2017 was the last time we only had earth science at the middle school, and June of 2022 is when we had only living environment at the middle school. So you see here that our earth science percentage, we went up from 76% to 84%, and our mastery we went from 33% to 49%. Unfortunately, our passing rate in living environment went down, and so did the mastery. So then you say, uh-oh, what happened there? A few things did happen. So this was all during the COVID time where kids weren't, last school year, I don't think kids were used to taking a Regents exam. A lot of kids the year before was exempt. They had the special appeals, and I don't know if they took it as seriously as they should have. That's the first thing. Then when you break down some of our subgroups, our students with disabilities and our multi-language learners had difficulty. They were probably the areas that we need to improve on most. So we do have some plans for next year. The first thing is that we have, when we're hiring all of our science teachers for secondary, they are special ed is also science certified. And so it really is helping to build that program. So in 8th grade, we have a living environment teacher that's certified in special ed, teaching both the 8th grade life science course and the living environment course, so they know where the kids have to go and help get them ready. Along with that, we have some programs that we are going to participate in next year to really help build science as another language, and there's some professional development that's going to happen around that. So now what? Now here comes the good part. So what's our 3-year plan? In the next 3 years, what are we going to do to start making greater strides? And we've been doing a ton of work for the elementary. You know, we first of all, I have to say we are ahead of the curve for most of Long Island. But for elementary, we had written these units prior to COVID, so we're going to be revamping with them. And then high school, we're just going to keep moving forward. So we took those buckets that we looked at and we said, well, where are they going to be important in the lineup? Like, what do we have to start with? So really, you know, at that K2, really starting to build that student discourse. And I think one of the most important things we have to do is that transition from elementary to middle school. You know, we say don't kill the wonder. So how do we get kids to keep being curious? And that's one of our biggest challenges. And that's when we're designing these new lessons. How do we get kids to want to do it? You know, we see, especially after COVID, maybe a lot of screen time, iPads, you know, all these games they're playing, that they are waiting for something to happen to them. So now we're trying to give them those opportunities to really do it and have fun learning. So we're going to start with our K2 plan.
So our K2 plan has already started. We've taken our units that we had prior to COVID. We're updating our units to align our instruction on our lessons with the New York State Science Learning Standards, as well as incorporating the phenomena, the curiosity of learning, the risk-taking, all of those things that were visible in the middle school where kids get older and they're more confident with their learning. Building the vocabulary. So it's going to start in year 1, where we're going to really build the professional development for the teachers, update our units, incorporate the 5E model. Year 2 and 3 is going to be more of the same with the other units, but incorporating the learning walks like we did the K-12, but doing it maybe vertical or going across. Could be the same grade level, could be a 2, 3, 4, a K-1, 2, so that teachers can see what's happening in the grade prior and the grade after.
As you can see by looking at our slide here, the focus of the grades 3 to 5 3-year plan will be to create common, formative, and summative assessments, honing in on the importance of creating a strong connection of expectations between the 4 elementary buildings. Professional development around assessment building and integrating the 3 dimensions will support that focus.
Right, so 6th grade 3-year plan I'm going to present you with. So just a little background where we are. We have all our standards tied together in 8 units, and each unit has its own unique phenomena that connects all the content beautifully in an interesting way to engage kids. To make it even more NGSS aligned, in year 1, we're going to start writing our assessments that are going to be phenomena based. And the next year, we are writing 4 assessments out of our 8 units. In year 2, we're going to start working on writing rest of the 4 assessments out of 8. At the same time, we're going to start looking for another phenomena that's called elaborate phenomena. The goal is to make sure kids have enough practice applying and elaborating the same knowledge and the skills in 2 different real-world situations before they are getting assessed. By the end of 2nd year, we would have 3 phenomena per unit: engagement phenomena, elaborate, and 1 assessment phenomena. In year 3, we're going to implement all NGSS factors in our instruction, in our assessment, pilot this plan, collect data, and see how kids are doing.
So the 3-year plan for 7th grade. The first year, we will be each semester working on at least one unit. We would like to take all 15 of the standards that we have through the New York State Science Learning Standards and recombine them. Right now they are in 11 units. We'd like to recombine them into either 8 or 6, but we're thinking maybe 8 would be good. 8 units. So what you see here would be for 6 units, but we'll probably be doing 3 units, and 2 units. So for each year, during the year, during professional development, we will be adopting a phenomenon for each unit. For each of those unit phenomena, we will build a storyline. And we'll do this by rebuilding the standards, as I just mentioned. That will happen during year 1. During year 2, we will work on 3 other units. And during year 3, we will work on the final 2 units. And then any remaining time will be used to comb through the entire year and see what worked and what didn't work. During professional development, we will be doing assessment building together, cultivating classroom environments with curiosity because kids are naturally curious. And we will be, most importantly, integrating the 3 dimensions that Dr. Cummings mentioned earlier.
Sorry. Just to put it in context, so this is the 4th year for 6th grade, 3rd year for 7th grade, and the 2nd year for 8th grade in terms of the implementation of the standards. All of the grade levels do have common summative assessments this year. So every single grade level, at the end of each unit, they have a common assessment. So that way we have a similar lens to look at student work with. And they bring those to the small group meetings, and we kind of take a look at the test, whether is it if the kids didn't do well on a question, is it the question, is it the way we taught it? You know, is it the language? So it's really helpful to do that. So when we're talking about these rebundling, it's not completely like, oh, everything again. It's really just taking what we have and keep fine tuning it to really fit for what students need. So what seems to happen is every time we start, they bundle all the units and then they separate them and then they rebundle them again. That's what Mary was saying. So eighth grade is going to start with doing one storyline next year and continue with the phenomenon. Again, you keep hearing phenomenon because it's very hard sometimes to find a good phenomenon for the standards, and the fact that you have to find multiple phenomenon so that way you can give a student an assessment of something they haven't seen. Because if you give them something they've already seen, now we're just asking them to recall. But we don't want them to just recall. We want them to really apply knowledge. So we went to a big conference and we found some great resources for that. So as we do this, we're also going to be using those resources to really build those phenomenon for everything, and the same professional development opportunities that they spoke about.
Okay, so as Dr. Cummings said, living environment's not going to be called biology. And part of our year 1 plan is that as a department, we'd like to create some more of those storylines based on phenomenon, and that will guide our instruction as we tie it in the various concepts for biology. We'd also like to work as a department on creating common assessments that we can use for quarter exams and midterm exams that model NGSS as well as the future biology regents. And finally, for year 1, we'd like to do some learning walks and check out what our colleagues are doing at the middle school and learn from them and their experiences. In year 2, because due to the fact that these standards are very language intensive, which can be especially challenging for our multi-language learners and our special ed students, we'd like to work on increasing student science literacy and increasing this literacy and discourse. We can do this by participating in professional development. There's a great there's some modules that have been created by Dr. Lee for NYSID that we'd like to check out and integrate. This way then we can start working on integrating science and language for all of our students, but especially for our multi-language students and special ed students. And then do some more learning walks at the high school, after we've implemented some of our new storylines. And
then by year 3, we want to streamline our lessons so that if a student's moving from bio to physics or chemistry and they are a special education student or a multi-language learner, that they are able to cohesively follow the expectations and the routines that were established as they move through and build their confidence as they move. And then for earth science, for year 1, the Earth Science Department would like to focus on piloting assessments and resources that are already available that we can start to explore. We've already started to look at inner orbit. They would also like to create 1 new unit and then also try to use some of the new vision units that they've already started looking at as well. And then by year 2, they are hoping to revise the lessons and then make sure they make any necessary changes.
Yeah, and same with year 3, just sort of reflecting, revising, fine-tuning, and, looking at the curriculum, seeing what worked, what didn't work, and then, of course, more curriculum writing, professional development, and attending some conferences to fine-tune that as well.
So in chemistry, we actually stumbled upon this, believe it or not, textbook, not for the kids, but for us, that really, it's called Living by Chemistry, and it really makes chemistry more accessible to the non-science person. And we happened to be fortunate enough to see the author of this textbook when we went to the National Science Teacher Association conference in Atlanta in March. And she gave a presentation, and we're all in for that. So we're going to pilot that book. It really just reorganizes the curriculum, but it is already aligned with the new science learning standards for New York State. So even though our chemistry isn't moving to the new standards until the 25-26 school year, we are going to pilot it and see how it works because the content is the same. And that's basically for year 1. For year 2, we are going to reflect and see what worked, what didn't work, fine-tune it, and we would also like to try to develop a department-wide project that, almost like the things that are being tested on the elementary and 8th grade tests, but we're not going to be tested on that yet, but just get kids used to doing a research project year-wide that, for example, it's going to be water pollution is what we're planning on doing, and how water pollution relates to all the forms of chemistry or units in chemistry. And then the last year, we would like to take a look at the Earth Science and Living Environment assessments to see how they were similar to the old assessments and how they were different to try to get a handle on what's coming our way. And then integrating more of the three dimensions into our assessments.
All right, and then we have physics. We're going to pilot peer physics. This is a discussion-based physics, so the students really argue and really get into the physics and talk about it instead of being lectured. We do a lot of hands-on stuff as is, but peer physics is even more of that. And then we're going to focus on aligning phenomenon to each unit and reflect on the lessons and assessments to make modifications for year 2. In year 2, we are going to focus on the successes and failures that we come across next year and align our lessons to the New York State standards. And we're going to do that by looking at the 8th grade assessments that are going to take place next year and see how things might change and what to kind of expect. And then in year 3, again, we're going to look at the earth science and living environment assessments and again see how we can, what might be coming our way for physics and how we can change things and update things. And then we're going to focus on integrating the 3 dimensions into the assessments, and of course professional development includes curriculum writing, collegial circles, and the physics professional development with our PLCs.
So we wanted to end off with a couple of pictures of what you can see if you went every day into our science classrooms. I'm so proud of the science department that we have here in Farmingdale and the teacher leaders and the administrative leader that we have here. The dedication to our students, to that sense of wonder, the pathways, the engineering that we enable our students to see every day in their classroom is amazing. So here you go. Here's a little glimpse into our classrooms. Okay, or I can sing, and that's not good. Hopefully that won't happen. Okay, you're very lucky. You're very lucky. There you go. Thank you. Board, I would love for you to ask us any questions that you may have around the presentation, around the process, what went through, any comments that you might have.
Good evening. I want to thank you all for coming out and having this presentation for all of us. It's amazing. On behalf of the board as well, thank you. I have been on many learning walks. Thank you for the invitation. So have a lot of our board members. So I have to say, I think you hit on everything that I saw in the learning walks through the years. So thank you for that. So I'm not going to repeat it, but in my heart I'm going, yes, engaged, yes, they were fun. I have to say that I started at the elementary school. It had to be like 10 years ago or so. Mm-hmm. And just to see the students there, I'm like, what is a learning walk and what are they about? And it started out with a couple kids at a desk and doing a couple little cubes, because now we can do a lot more. And just the enthusiasm I saw then led me to believe that this is great and it will be even better as we go on through the years, which it is. So fast forward, I don't know how many years later, showing my age, but who cares, 10 years or so later, going to the elementary, going to the middle school, going to the high school, it was a totally amazing experience. The elementary school was even more amazing for me because these kids at that age in elementary school level were unbelievably excited, helping each other, sharing. No one was sleeping or laying on the desk. Everyone was just engaged. I learned a lot along the way from our students and our staff, and just being a part of the hands-on. Because I was one of those desk students that was in a row and it didn't work. But this is really amazing, and I really have to thank you for seeing our students and our staff so excited about the things you're doing. So if you work someplace, it's nice to enjoy going there and being a part of it. So I can see from the outside and the inside. So my question is, when the heck is the schedule for next year coming out? Because I want to put them all on my calendar.
You will definitely be invited, and you're absolutely right. There's nothing more wonderful than teachers opening up their classrooms to each other, to others, to look, to see, and have conversations on how can we make the experience for our students even better. And so that really adds to that learning environment, that we're all learning together, that we're in this together to support our kids. So thank you for bringing that up. That's very nice of you, Kathy. And yes,
wanna know what the
you will
schedule
be
is.
on many of them. I always,
Yeah.
I love board learning walks. I think they're really important.
We
So
all
thank
enjoy
you.
them. Thank you.
Thanks. Sure.
Elementary.
Yes, they do, Dr. Cummings. They all love science.
My two boys are at Howard, and they don't really talk to me about school because they're boys. But the fact that they get such good grades, I know that means that they're engaged and they're actually enjoying it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing as well as they are. And to me, when I said I saw a difference, I also went through Farmingdale schools, and not that long ago, and just remembering my experience, right? Just remembering my experience of what class was like, and exactly what they were saying. Like, I remember doing the experiments after learning about it, so you already knew what was going to happen. So I saw the difference in comparing my own experiences, and I'm like, oh wow, they're getting a much better experience than I feel like I did.
Thank you for bringing that up. That was great. Thank you.
I too, if I can just have a moment, want to echo exactly what Arlene Sodi and Kathy Lively just described to all of you. In addition, I would also personally like to thank you for all your hard work. There's a lot going on here, and clearly the collective minds and different stakeholders, I truly appreciate it as a parent. I do have one of my children who middle school who comes home and absolutely talks about his science class. Loves his science class, and he's the one that I have a difficult time getting him to stay engaged, but he loves science. He loves his teacher. He loves all this. He's the perfect student for this. I do want to acknowledge what you acknowledged as far as our special education and our English language learners who, we're still looking to, build them up, connect the roads so that they're doing better and being more successful. So I appreciate that that's acknowledged and that we're working towards the goal of making them more successful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the heart of our work. Thank you.
So I just want to end mine with saying, I want a pair of those goggles. Where can I get them? Well, don't
They
pay
are
for
cool.
them.
They
Next
are
time I come, I'm gonna.
Oh, one more.
Good evening, everybody. I do want to thank all of you for the work that you put into this. Obviously, it took a great amount of work, a concerted effort by all of you. So we all do appreciate it. I don't have a 50-second prelude to my question. I'm not Kathy Lively, but I do have a question. There's been some chatter recently in our community regarding data surrounding how our students performed on the 8th grade science assessment. So Dr. Olson, can you provide us with your analysis of that data, what it shows, and what your interpretation of it is?
So when looking at data like that, at data from New York State Report Card, or and you're comparing districts to districts, it's really important to look at the participation rates. And I'm going to really talk to some of them. I actually have some prepared because since we were talking about science, I wasn't sure if a question would come up. So when looking at data and comparing districts to districts, you have to look at who is taking these assessments. Who does this represent? Because when you're saying things of percentages and you're basing it on small numbers, you're actually measuring or labeling districts against each other, right? Monitoring, really seeing, when it's not a true representation of the whole. So let's talk a little bit about the 8th grade. The 8th grade assessments, we had 66 kids take it. 66 out of 358. 66 out of 358. That is roughly 16% of our students. When you compare that to Massapequa, they had 9%. POB, 6%, and Bethpage, 18%. And when you look at that participation rate, it's very important to look at the ratio of the subgroups within each of those. Do they truly represent the whole? Is it the same amount of general ed students in that 16% that are taking the tests? Is it the same ratio of special ed students that are taking those tests? Opt-out numbers could look the same percentage-wise, but you have to look at who is opting out. And does that change the total sample size of a district? So I just advise everybody, when looking at data, to be mindful of that. And yes, do we want to grow? I think this presentation alone shows the commitment, the dedication of every teacher, every administrator, every parent, every board member that is here in Farmingdale, and how we are deeply committed to showing progress. We will be blue ribbon schools because we will look at our achievement gaps. We will look at where we want to go. We will make more pathways for students to grow. And I think this is the first step. These brave people that are here tonight saying, here where we are, here's where we want to go, and we have a pathway to get there. So thank you for asking that question and helping us verify some of the data that went out there.
Can I follow up? How do you create those pathways for those children? We're talking about closing the achievement gaps. What plans, what type of things can we enact for those students?
So since this is around science, I'm going to let, because this lady right here is so dedicated to that, so I'm going to let her.
Well, first of all, two things. The other thing you have to consider with the 8th grade test is what percentage do they accelerate. So any child in accelerated science in 8th grade does not take the state assessment automatically. So that can skew numbers too. So we had over 50% of our students accelerated. You know, some districts accelerate all of their students. So really, I think that's another just lens to look at some of that data with. So in terms of here's our plan. So we now have a 7th grade, an 8th grade co-taught E&L classes, right? So we start there. We now have, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Our special ed teachers are science certified. And I think that's really starting to build now. So that way, when those students, like I said, the students that are not accelerated in 8th grade are having that support built in with the life science new standards. So that way, when they get to take their first Regents exam, they'll be more successful. And I think that also helps boost that self-esteem of I can do this. So they're going to go to that 9th grade living environment class, and they're going to have a great foundation that before it didn't flow like that. So I think that's really a big part of our initial, our first steps that we're taking is really to realign that so that way students really are building on their knowledge and we can and help them grow.
Thanks. Does that help clarify a little bit? Any other questions before we stop? Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to do this. We look so forward to doing this and continuing this curriculum review process for math, for ELA, for social studies, for our fine arts department, for all the curriculums that we have out there. So thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you again for that presentation. We really appreciate the effort, the time, and the commitment that you showed, not only in putting that together, but in the commitment and time that you put together for our students. They are the true benefactors of this commitment that you have. So we do thank all of you for your work, and we look forward to seeing the results coming in the years to come. Now, there was one item for old business. I just wanted to address that now. And this is from last month's meeting. You may recall that there was a discussion last month regarding school safety, including the issue of armed security, during last month's public participation session. Our district will soon engage with our community stakeholders, including our residents, our parents, our school staffs, and our students, to solicit their interest in participating in focus groups to explore school safety measures and the potential to include armed security in our safety plan. In the event of a large number of interested parties, the district will implement a lottery system to ensure that our focus groups represent a fair cross-section of our Daylor community while maintaining a reasonable number of participants. District administrators will meet with these focus groups and report the results of their interactions to the community before the end of this school year, which is June 30th. Simultaneously, to ensure input from all stakeholders, the district will send out a survey tool to the entire district to gauge overall interest. Our goal is to enact safety measures that reflect the input of these focus groups by October 1st of this year. I'd like to now open the meeting for our first public participation session. Please be sure to clearly state your name when you approach the microphone. As a reminder, public participation will be limited to 30 minutes, Each individual speaker will have 3 minutes in which to ask their questions or to make any statements. If we do not get to all of the speakers during the first 30 minutes, there will be an opportunity at the second public participation session. Thank you.
Good evening. Tom Alessandro, address is on file. I know we have a Meet the Candidates night coming up on Monday. I just wanted to confirm, is that going to be live streamed? Is the Meet the Candidates night going to be live streamed?
Is it this Monday? Was that the question?
Well, both, I guess. Just kind of confirm what it is and if it is going to be live streamed.
Yes, it will be. It will be live streamed, if I understand that correctly. It's Monday at 7:30 here at Howard.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you. Just want to make sure.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Raymond James Dengate. I believe we've been informally online the other day, Ralph. Regarding to the question about the budget, who makes it, who approves it? I believe you said that Mr. Defendini and the assistant business superintendent comes up with the budget numbers, correct?
Mr. Defendini and his team, over the course of many months, yes, they devise a budget that is then presented to us as a board.
And you as a board approve or disapprove his recommendations?
We ultimately approved the budget, and in fact, we did that last month. Which is why it's
I understand that, but you do have a option of approving or disproving what he presents to you. When saying, hey, this may be a little bit more expensive than we want to spend or have the taxpayers pay, can you shave something down to present something else?
Of course, the board does have that authority to do that, yes.
Do you know the last time that happened?
The last time what happened?
The last time Mr. Defendini and his team presented you with a package of spending and you guys said, you know what, this is a little bit more expensive than we want to have.
That happens every year.
I'm sorry?
Every year.
Every year you decline something.
Every year we discuss and we tinker and we adjust and we work together to collaborate on a budget that is acceptable not only to administration but to the board and that we feel is an appropriate budget that can be presented to the community to be voted upon.
But you guys have never outright said, no, this is too much.
You mean, do we ever reject a budget in its
do you
entirety?
ever reject the budget? I'm sorry.
Not during my time.
I only have an associate's degree and I've been a dumb cop for 25 years, so excuse me if my vocabulary is not up to par for you.
I don't know what that means. I said that we have never in my time here on the board ever said we rejected, excuse me, we have never in my time on the board said we're rejecting the budget in its entirety. Since 2014, no.
Getting back to the kids' presentation, which was wonderful, I enjoyed the music, it was outstanding. Are these one of the programs that are going to be cut if the budget doesn't get passed?
If the budget doesn't get passed, what we have to do is essentially make up a gap between approximately $3 million. So what we would have to do is assess what programs can survive, what programs need to be scaled back, what programs need to be cut. At the end of the day, if the budget is rejected, we get $8 million of state aid. $11 million would be cut, but we get $8 million of state aid. So that's a $3 million gap that we would then have to address. That's a significant amount of money, and that money would have to be made up for by cutting certain programs, cutting certain activities, things of that nature. That's just the nature of the beast. That's the way it works.
So the kids come second as far as everything else, then, is what you're telling us.
No, the kids are always first.
Then why are you looking to cut their programs first if a contingency budget's passed?
When you have
You're saying you're getting $8 million of state aid. The budget that's being proposed is an $11 million increase. So out of that $11 million, only $3 million is technically going to kids' programs, correct?
$3 million would have to be cut. No, you're misunderstanding. If the budget is rejected, instead of an $11 million increase, we lose $11 million. We would then take $8 million of state aid to offset that $11 million loss, which would be catastrophic to the district. But when you do the math, 11 minus 8 is 3, so there's 3 million left over. And then what we have to do is try to do as best we can to eliminate $3 million worth of programs in the schools. That's just the way it works.
And there's no other place where you can cut costs.
We look across everything, but
And
it's
why-
$3 million.
I've been a resident here for 20 years. Every time a budget comes up, it's always the kids that are held over the parents' heads that their programs are going to possibly be lost.
So there are obligations. Nothing's being held over heads. It's a matter of fact. If there's if there's $3 million that we have to essentially eliminate, we have to look across the entire district to see what we can do. But let me be very clear, because you're insinuating that we're holding kids hostage, whatever you were saying. The kids are our first and most important priority
Can I
at
get
all
another 30
times.
seconds because you cut into my 3 minutes?
I actually didn't start the clock for about 3 minutes. So you've been up here for about 6 minutes. You can go back up the second time. I wasn't able to start the clock originally.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Anyone else? All right, thank you. I make a motion to approve the Board of Education minutes from April 3, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 3rd, 2023.
All in favor?
Aye.
I call for a motion to approve the Board of Education minutes of April 4, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 4th, 2023 meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Call for motion to approve the Board of Education minutes of April 18, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 18th, 2023 meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Rogers, did the board receive any correspondence this month?
Yes, Mr. Morales. The board received a letter regarding the addition of a second Muslim holiday to the school calendar. There was a parent letter regarding a CSE meeting, and then there was a letter from a local business regarding the coordination of school breaks in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rogers. Does the board have any committee reports?
Busy month as usual. PTA Council had their meeting. Safety Committee had their meeting. Wellness, and also the policy. And the policy will be on tonight's agenda. In addition to that, the Youth Council membership approved the proposed budget for the fiscal year of 23-24, which represents no increase to the tax levy, and it's Proposition 2 on the ballot. We're working on our scholarship for the 2 seniors at the high school for community service. And the Farmingdale Chamber of Commerce is having on Saturday, June 2nd, at the library, a shred event from 10 to 1. You're able to come, bring a couple boxes with no paper clips or metal wires or anything to shred. It's complimentary, but if you'd like to donate, the donations will go towards the scholarship fund for the high school. So come on down and bring your papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sure, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 1A through I, 2A, and 3A through D be approved as a whole with action recorded separately.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Morales?
Yes.
If I might? Right, we've reached that moment in the agenda where it might not be obvious to the people that are sitting in the audience, but there were some very special people that were just approved to join the Farmingdale family in the crowd this evening to introduce you to the Board of Education. I'm going to introduce the board to Caitlin Bova, Howard Middle School Social Studies. Congratulations, Caitlin. We have Shanley Sullivan, Social Studies, Howard Middle School. I can't see with the lights. Must have had to leave at some point. He was in the audience, so we welcome him anyway. And James Scott, Farmingdale High School Technology. Welcome, Mr. Scott. Very unbelievable interview. Very phenomenal human being as far as just his being. Forget about just being a technology teacher. Excited to welcome these wonderful people to Farmingdale Schools. Thank you, Mr. Morales.
Congrats and welcome to our new teachers, our new tenure teachers, I should say. Congrats.
I apologize. I had the wrong date for the shred event. I know it's Saturday, but it's the 3rd of June. Sorry about that.
Thanks for the clarification. Can I have a motion to table a request for an exemption to a mandated school zone assignment?
I make a motion to table an exemption to the mandated school zone by reason of a demonstrated personal and/or family hardship in accordance with Board Policy 5110.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Sam Thompson for discussion on policy.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. In Mr. Zagin's absence, I'd like to present that we have 3 draft policies for the board tonight. The first draft is policy 6700 and 6700R, purchasing regulation. This policy must be reviewed annually and presented to the board for approval. It was reviewed by both the policy committee and the business department. There are no changes to the policy. This presentation simply documents for the record that the annual review took place. Second policy and regulation is 0115, student harassment and bullying. Changes made here were provided and required by the New York State School Boards Association. The bulk of the changes are based on the Crown Act, which was passed in March of 2021, addressing discrimination based on natural hair texture or hairstyles traditionally worn by various races. Additional changes further define acts of bullying, hazing, and harassment. This policy also provides guidance as to the required response of educators when encountering or being made aware of these defined behaviors towards a student. Most of these items were in the Code of Conduct, but have been removed and placed into this policy. And the third draft for review is Policy 5300, Code of Conduct. While this policy also requires an annual review, there's one housekeeping change made. The DASA coordinators are relisted to meet the change in administrative assignments in our buildings. So new or changes in administration in the building, those are reflected in this change as well. So there are also numerous mandatory changes required by the New York State School Boards Association. As I just mentioned, this policy is linked directly to the prior policy we just discussed for harassment and bullying. And as a result, those subject lines have been removed from 5300.30. A referral to go to 0115 has been put in its place. And the terms used to define prohibited student conduct have been aligned with current behavioral standards. Much of the policy changes are geared toward defining specific behaviors and referring to policy 0115 for specific charges for violating the student harassment and bullying prevention and intervention policy. Thank you. All 3 of these policies will be placed on the June board meeting for approval.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. I'd like to open our meeting now for our second public participation session. Again, please be sure to clearly state your name when you approach the microphone. As a reminder, public participation will be limited to 30 minutes. Each individual speaker will have 3 minutes in which to ask their questions or to make any statements. The district clerk will hold the timer for us, and the floor is now yours.
Raymond James Dengate. Who negotiates on the behalf of the taxpayers as far as administrative salaries?
Administrative salaries, you're saying?
Yes,
Meaning what specifically?
superintendent.
Who negotiates? The board does.
Okay. I believe the superintendent got a raise last year, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And he deserved it.
For everybody that's listening, there's a webpage, seethroughnewyork.net, SEETHROUGH, New York, NY.net. You can look up anybody's public servant salaries. I believe his raise, was how much? What was the percentage?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, I'll tell you what he's making now is $286,000 a year. Not
Okay.
bad. We also have a, there is a dean in the high school that I've seen video of. This dean sitting in the girls' room reading a book. Is there a problem in the girls' high school bathrooms?
You said there's a dean sitting in the bathroom?
There's a video of a dean sitting in the high school girls' bathroom reading a book for well over an hour, because there's obviously a problem in that bathroom. Is that what we're paying our deans to do?
What's the question exactly? I haven't seen the video, so I can't comment on something I haven't seen.
Okay, that's
I don't know
something
what
maybe
you're
you should, the board and Mr. Defendini can look into. As far as the assessments, just taking a couple of quick notes. If the opt-out is so high, why is it still being used? Why are we still pushing these assessments on the kids? Who's being assessed, the kids or the teachers? Because as far as I know, my kids went to Farmingdale High schools. If they passed the class, that's all I was worried about. I couldn't care less about what they got on a state assessment test. The state assessment tests have nothing to do with how the kids are doing in school. So why are we still pushing? We have 16% of Farmingdale kids, 9% of Massapequa, 9%. Why are we still pushing this, and why are we still drilling the kids in the classrooms to pass those tests when they should be doing the curriculum to get them passed through the grades and get their diploma? Thank you.
Sure, so I can answer that question. So first off, you chose an assessment where a significant number of the student body are advanced in 8th grade, so therefore the numbers with regard to the percentage of students taking the test is less than if you compared it to other grades where a typical environment existed. For example, at Northside, we just gave the English language arts assessment. Roughly 85 to 90% of the students take the test under normal type circumstances in Northside at present. So again, data-wise, I just want you to understand the disparity between the science, which is not really a great one to use when you're comparing districts because of the significant number of students that aren't taking it for sometimes reasons that aren't even about parents actually choosing to opt their kids out. It's just about there are other assessments that are given in those respective years. That's one. Why do we value assessments? I actually put out about a 10 to 11 minute video. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it. You can certainly pop it up online. I'm sure it's up on our website. We value it for a number of reasons. One, it aligns with the New York State learning standards. Our students in Farmingdale schools are required to pass a certain number of Regents exams in order to be able to actually gain the credit that they need for graduation. Most of our students take advanced level classes. They take AP college level classes. The standards that are associated with that don't just start in high school. The requirements we have to get those students ready to be able to take those assessments start all the way back when they're in elementary school. And those assessments provide us with feedback that we can use to gauge what we need to do as far as making curricular changes or how students are responding to particular teaching stimuli. So it provides us with feedback. And I also explained that it provides students an opportunity to be able to understand the test-taking environment. One of the things that we've noticed over the course of time has been students have struggled to be able to persevere through long assessments. If the first time that you're taking an assessment as a student is in 9th grade, as an example, because you're taking earth science or you're taking living environment for the first time, and that's your first experience with a long-term assessment, that's a lot to ask of a kid that hasn't had any experience taking tests. Tests are a part of life, no matter what it is you do, right? Mr. James, you're a police officer. There's a test that's required in order for you to be able to be placed on a list to ultimately be reached so that you can become a police officer or to move up, right? If you want to become a sergeant or a lieutenant or a captain or a detective, there are tests that are required. So tests are a part of life. Our belief system is getting kids acclimated to taking those tests at an early age, especially 3 through 8, gives kids the ability at that age to take them under a lower stress environment because they don't count in the same way as some of those higher stake tests, so that when they do take their LSATs, their MCATs, their AP tests, their Regents exams, any type of a civil service test, they are more prepared. Again, I went to a lot more detail, but I wanted to give you sort of the sum and substance of what I shared with the community when I talked about why I think it's important for students to take assessments.
And Mr. Dengate, you had mentioned Mr. Devendini's salary, and you said not bad. And it is, you know, the salary is a salary. But what you need to understand, if you look across Nassau County, his salary is in the middle of the pack. And we on the board understand that we have to be mindful of our taxpayers. We can't just give out exorbitant contracts, obviously. We have to negotiate. But we also have to reward someone who, if you speak across this district, is extremely well respected, extremely well regarded. You speak to his cabinet. You speak to the directors in the schools. You speak to our principals. You speak to our teachers. And most importantly, you speak to our kids. This man is revered. And I'm not just saying that because he's a superintendent. I'm not just saying it because he's sitting up here. He is paid a salary commensurate with the effort he puts out. And if he was paid actually commensurate with the effort he puts out, he'd be making a lot more. But we're mindful, you can't just write a blank check. But at the same time, we have to be competitive. And he's in the middle of the pack. He's not at the top. He's not at the bottom. He's right in the middle. And I don't have a lot of experience in other districts. I'd venture to say, I'd go out on a limb to say that Mr. Defendini, the work he does for this district, the love he has for this district, the goals he has for this district, and the selfless nature with which he goes about his business, he earned and he's worth every last cent. You can't continue talking from this scene, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? Thank you, everybody. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Better make it right. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody. Make sure, again, meet the candidates forum is next week. Election day is May 16th. Come down, no matter how you want to vote, come down and vote. Our democracy depends on it. Come down to vote May 16th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. here at Howard. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.